friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'd like to talk to you about this really cute set that's in the holiday catalog. It's called Flourish Filigree, and it coordinates with the pretty label punch. So this is that really pretty punch that went with the Label Me Pretty stamp set that's in the annual catalog. It punches out all these fun images here, but then it also punches out the new images in the Flourish Filigree. Now, I made a Christmas card with this bundle, and I used the filigree underneath here in the red, and then I used the Happy Christmas Wishes here, and I built up this card. I also just recently used this to do my thank you cards to send out after my mother-in-law had passed away, and I needed to do a lot of thank you cards, and I used this set and was done lickety split, sending thankful thoughts and gratitude for your friendship. So they were a nice card with some substance to it instead of the little flimsy paper things that they give you at the viewing. So I was really happy with how pretty they turned out. So I wanted to show you another way of doing this type of card, actually, but we're going to do it live right here and now. I'm actually designing it as we speak. So what we're going to do is get out our Stamparatus. Now what I did here, when I made a bunch of these Christmas cards, I put my stamp in my Stamparatus so that I could just throw the piece of paper in there, stamp multiples of this image. And so this was still in my Stamparatus when I went to do my thank you cards. So I used the same. Now you'll see this one is a little bit smaller. That wasn't because I liked it smaller. It was because I cut something wrong on here. So I had to make the card smaller so it fit. Ever do that when you're cutting things and then you're off like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch? So it just made another kind of an eye-appealing, just a little bit different of a size. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that same red card, but we're going to be using the colors of black and gold and very vanilla. So what I decided to do for this card is use a basic black card base, and it's 11 inches by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2, and all these measurements and all the materials I use on the cards will be on the blog post for this card. So 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2, and then that's going to make us a portrait card opening from the bottom. Now the border that I did as I cased myself on this card was I layered, instead of going to 4, which would be the next increment, I went to 5 by 3 3/4. So then that made the white on this card 3 1/2 by 5. So what I did is I just copied myself and I used my gold and gave a nice black border here. So this gold is 5 by 3 3/4. And then my very vanilla that's going to layer onto there is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So you just go in by 1/8 increments on each of all 4 sides. So when you're cutting, you're just cutting in 1/4 inch, which is 2 1/8. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I left the stamp, the filigree stamp, in there. I'm gonna give you a few little tips here as we do this card. Like for instance there, I'm still using my gold glitter from the retired stock just to use it up because I love the new gold glimmer, as I told you in my last video. So we're just going to take our embossing buddy, and that's just a little pillow filled with some type of resin product, chalky stuff that just takes away any static, and you'll just wipe it across your card. And then I'm going to use my magnet, and I'm gonna keep that in a nice secure place there. And remember not to get your magnets too close together because they have been known to split, like shatter into pieces. So what we're gonna be using is Versamark. And this is a watermark stamp pad. And I liken it to, I tell my girls, it's a sticky, invisible ink. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ink up the filigree. Another little tip when you're using the Stamparatus, there's a depth here that fits right clear mount stamp case under there, so it makes it easy to stamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my, one thing about invisible ink, you can't see it, so you just have to kind of do a nice covering. And I'm just being really sure I got it all. Okay, then we're going to look at that Versamark ink pad. This must be a brand new one that hasn't had any mileage put on it yet. So then we're just going to take the Stamparatus and close it. And I'm just, please excuse my injury here. I rolled over in bed last night and snagged my fingernail on something, and oh my gosh, nothing like jumping out of bed with a finger that's hurting like heck. So here we go, and we have the Versamark here. You can tell I used red here, which is okay because I'm going to be covering this here, but you can see a slight hue here of the red that's left on there, which actually we'll pretend that I wanted that to happen. So there you go. You can see that invisible ink a little bit there. I'm just going to close my Stamparatus, put it off to the side, and we're going to emboss. Another little thing, I use these Sistema little containers for keeping my embossing powders in. The reason why, I did have them in the Rubbermaid Ziploc disposable ones, and one time I dropped one and it wasn't as secure, but these little sides here really keep it secure here. So what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to wish that I had a spoon, but it's not here. So what I'm going to do is use this as my catch-all, and then I'm going to just put some embossing powder on this Versamark here. And this is gold, and I think embossing just adds a little bit of, not a little bit, it adds a lot of class to a card. So you can see that I've covered the whole thing there, and now I'm just going to shake it off. I can see that it's just got a little place right here, so I'm just going to come right back here and put some, and it looks like maybe my Versamark didn't get right there. Okay, looks good. If you do happen to have, okay, I think I had a paintbrush over here. If you do happen to get, sorry for moving there. I always have a little paintbrush handy to get any little stray pieces off of from my embossing, so try to do that. Right here, it's just not worth me getting all worked up about, but the Versamark didn't adhere right there, but that's okay. So now what we're gonna do is just set this aside, and we are going to start with our heat gun. I'm using the Stampin' Up! Heat gun, and the Stampin' Up! Heat gun has 2 heat speeds on it. So when you're doing that, if you put on only the number, as you can see, there's a 2, a 1, and a 0. If you only put it on 1, it's going to be a low heat. I actually have never really used the low heat. You want to make sure it's on the 2, so you're getting a hot heat. You'll notice that the more you emboss, the heat gun stays heated up. Now, another trick I do with this is I always heat up the back of my card first. So we're gonna get this going. Another way of safety using your heat gun is I heat the back because it keeps me from scorching the front. So you heat up the back, and then it's already warmed, and you come over here and you don't have to put as much heat. Keep moving your embossing, your heating tool back and forth. Don't concentrate just in one place, especially, and sometimes I'll do this and then I'll go back over, because I have scorched my white and my very vanilla by putting it too close or putting too much heat on it. So you just got to be a little patient, and then all of a sudden the magic will happen, and you can see that the magic is happening. It still makes me feel like a little child when I see all the embossing starting. And so you can see how fun that look is. And then you want to take a good look, and you want to, in the light, move your image around and see if you see any grayed area. That gray area means the embossing powder is not totally embossed, but you can see there it looks like it's completely done. So the next thing I did on this card is I want to show you another little trick here too. I'm going to bring over my scoring tool. Now when you go to do your card, okay, you have your card put in your scoring tool. You score it at 5.5. That 5.5 has a valley that you put down into it. Now you're going to have that valley into that, which is a little dip. What I do is, if you remember it this way, because if you ever make your card and you fold it together and you're off just about a 1/16 of an inch and you're like frustrated, it's because you want to always score, no matter what scoring tool, if you're using the scoring tool or you're using your Stampin' trimmer. Whenever you score, always think of it this way. Score, then flip it over and fold it, because you want to fold on the mountain side where the bump is. So when you go to fold your card, you want to make sure that the bump is here, and that little bump was created whenever you scored down there. So if you just remember it this way, score, turn over, then use your bone folder. So that's another little trick I do when I'm making a card. Okay, so there we go. We've got our black card, and it's 4 1/4 by 5.5 on the front. And then that next layer, which was 4 by 5 1/4, I want to sneak a little bit of gold out of here. And I use the 1 3/4 inch punch. And since that was going to be covered up, I just punched out a 1 3/4 inch. Oh my gosh, look at all that glitter that comes off there. But the new paper doesn't do that. So what I did was I am going to put that behind the label I did. And this label is from that Flourish Filigree Christmas stamp set, Happy Christmas Wishes. And I just stamped it in black, and then I used the pretty label punch and punched it out. And then I'm going to take and put that with my glue. Where's my glue? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to use some glue on the back of my label, and I'm going to adhere this onto this piece of gold. So there we go. And that's going to be fancy. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is adhere. Now, you know what I'm just sitting here thinking about? Let me grab a piece of black paper, and I'm wondering if you're confused because I'm jumping all around. I'm wondering, would it look better like this with the black there? Black, and then where'd the gold go? See, I told you, this is the creative process of how I do things. I do them like 15 different ways. I think I like the black behind there, but that's okay. I'll use this gold circle for something else. I like the black sticking out under there. So what I'm going to do is put that glue on the back of the black, and then put that circle, that 1 3/4 inch circle. So I think that looked really nice there. As you can see on this card, the silver here and the silver here just looked really nice. But here with the gold, I thought the black just popped off there a little better. Because I think if I would have put the red here, it would have kind of got lost with the stamping on the red. But here you can see the gold, and then the black really pops out. And it actually makes the gold pop more having that black there. So there we go. So what we're going to do, though, to jazz up the bottom of this here, I cannot for the moment remember the person who made a really beautiful card, but I will acknowledge the inspiration where they took a piece of the metal edged ribbon, and I think her card was white and gold, and it was just so beautiful. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue, a little bit of my snail adhesive right on the ribbon, This is like a 3-inch ribbon, and I'm just gonna make a little tag there. And then I'm going to put that on the back of the black circle. Now see, I told you I was going to let you see into the mind of Cindy Lee B. See how crazy it is as she's designing something right as she's making it. So I just want to have that little tail sticking out of the bottom of the label. And then I have my dimensionals there. And I'm just going to put that, whoa, you know what I'm doing on this card? We're making it a portrait. And what I wanted to show you how I changed that up. So what I'm going to do is put this label, and it's kind of hard to see now because the ribbon is going to cover up here, but you just look for a place on your card that you can see something on each side that looks about right. And I would say, looking at here, you can see the points here, and you can see the points here. So that gives it a nice look there. So that's going to be the focal point of our card. Sometimes with embossing, you get a little bit of, oh wow, that was nice. You get a little bit of bending, so you just kind of work with your paper. I did use the thick Very Vanilla on this just because I knew I was embossing. So then the next thing we're going to do is going to adhere it to our gold. And once again, since I'm using glimmer paper, I'm going to actually use the Tombow multi-purpose glue. But also you could use your tear and tape. Works wonderful on glitter paper, glimmer paper. But it is permanent. So if you're playing with that, some of my girls use their tear and tape, and it scares me because I know if they have to take the panel off or the sentiment off and they've used that, it's going to tear the card apart. So here I am, just being patient with my glue, and there we go. And then I'm also, I think I'm just going to use my snail on the back of here. There we go. I really liked how easy this stamp set. There's so many stamp sets in the catalog that there's the ones that are the wows. As soon as you get the catalog, you can't wait to play with it. You can't wait to get it. You can't wait to see people putting samples on Pinterest. And then there's some subtle ones there. And literally, this is the one that just, I really, really liked it. So there we go. I have glitter everywhere. So my suggestion, you know what, this is just not cooperating with me, so I may just go and get my tear tape out. Yes, this is what happens when I'm making a card. I will have every single color out, every single adhesive, and we're just going to go ahead and put some tear tape on there. I think we're pretty assured that we know what we're doing at this point, so just put some tear tape on there. The new glitter paper, you would not have an issue with the new glimmer paper because I love tear and tape for the fact that you can just use your finger to cut it. I love the fact that you can glue directly on it. You don't have any of these issues, but if you're like me, you will use everything up that you have. And so I am using up my fantastic glimmer paper. So here I am getting, oh, that's not the right thing. Ha! It looked like my paper piercer, but it was my tool. What does that tell me? That I should probably put that tool right back where it belongs, at the bottom of my scoring tool, or else I'm going to be looking for it. So here we go. Let's get this tear tape off here. Go from the side. It's really easy with your paper piercer. And then the only thing I'm going to have to do is make sure that I know exactly where I want to be on here, because this will be pretty permanent. Okay, so there we go. You can see that stayed down really nice. And then oh golly gee. Another thing I need to do is get my adhesive remover, and it is right here. This is one guy that I'm really bummed out we don't carry anymore, but you can still order it online. And that's not an ink eraser, as a lot of people think. It's just an adhesive eraser. So I'll get all the little dabs of glue that I had all over my surface. Okay, so here we go. There we go. A beautiful black and gold and very vanilla Christmas card, very elegant. And you can see that, like, they're both a very pretty card here. You've got your red and white, and then you've got your black, gold, and the very vanilla. So these would be really, really simple cards to make for the holiday season using the Flourish Filigree. If you need to do some quick thank you cards. My mother-in-law loved Elegant Eggplant. It was one of the colors that she picked out for my daughter-in-law's wedding, saying she loved it so much. So I did pick the retired Elegant Eggplant in memory of Rose, my sweet mother-in-law. And so here you go. Different ones. I'll have these posted for you to see. And you can get that this effect with these cards with the Flourish Filigree stamp set and the Pretty Label Punch. So if you have any questions about the card, the colors, the materials, anything I use, you can go to my blog, cindyleeBdesigns.com. Questions? Email me, cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can always call or text me at 724-323-2296. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.